We are back and we are live and we are excited to be here. I've been kind of away for a little while. I'll tell you all about that in a minute. I'm losing my voice. Christine Debrosky is on. Christine, what are you going to do today?
Hi there, Eric. I'm so glad to be here today. I'm very excited. I'm going to use a plein air painting that I did that I really like very much as a jumping off point for exploring a different format and also a different color palette. And I'll change a couple of little things that I didn't like so much in the painting. So it'll be a completely different, completely new studio painting from my plein air piece.
I love these challenges because this is how we learn. I love to take paintings. First off, I personally have trouble painting from photographs because I'm so used to painting outdoors, but I like to paint from paintings. But my tendency, I think like a lot of us, is just to kind of do a bigger version or a different version of what we did. But you're gonna actually change it and kind of remodel it. I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get started.
Okay.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rose. Now, here's your host, Eric Rose.
Okay, well, I had to get my water. Welcome back. And I have not been here. I have not done a live broadcast now for 2 months, and today is the first one. What happened? Well, it was a combination of things, some family things, but we had our big Adirondack event. We were preparing for that, and then I was driving up here. That took a week because of the time that we took, and then next thing you know, one thing led to another, and I just couldn't get it done. So I apologize. I hope that you guys are in the comments and will comment. It's nice to see you guys here. We'll welcome back to the Dreamliners. Today, our guest is Christine Debrosky, and she is going to right away tell us how she's going to make changes in a painting. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. Christine, I see you have your pastel set up and side by side.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Eric. So this is a painting that I did on location, and I really liked it. It was the time of day, late afternoon, a time that I love. And I thought to myself, what if I did a painting using this that would be a little bit later in the day? And I also thought about, well, what format do I want to make it? I could make it a long sweeping piece. I could go vertical. I could use that big, beautiful tree, or I could focus on the grasses over on the right-hand side, or I could go square, a format that I like a lot, which is what I'm going to do today. And I thought about also changing the color palette. What if I thought about this being a little bit later in the day, maybe in half an hour later, because the sun was going down, and we know that the colors change when the sun goes down. So I'm going to start out with my biggest shape, which would be the sky.
Hey, can we just interrupt you here for a second and ask a couple of questions?
Of course.
First off, your camera could be just show that right-hand panel just a little bit more. It's getting cut off. I don't know if you can do that. Oh, there we go. Almost the opposite direction. Okay. Okay, that's probably
there.
Yeah, maybe try to turn it a little bit now. Oh, I'm getting nervous. Okay. Now, the thing I want you to do, Christine, is just for the people who are watching who might not be really tuned into pastel, would you just tell us what kind of paper you're using, why you use a toned paper, and just kind of walk us through some pastel as we go so that people can learn what pastel's all about. And we've got a big audience already today. Hello, Saudi Arabia.
Sure.
Welcome.
Wow,
all right.
Fabulous. Okay. I am using, can I say the brand? I'm using
Of course.
a Canson Mitin. It's a very old style paper. It's not a sanded paper. I really love it. And it's a warm coloring because I'm going warmer with this particular palette. And my working method is to start out with a little value thumbnail. And then I use soft, fine charcoal to mask in my darks. Those are the first marks that I make on the paper. What that does, Eric, and everybody watching today, is that it masks in my darks, and I work out my composition and movement with dry media. So those are the first marks I put on the paper. And it's very, very compatible with the pastel. Okay, so once I've got that in, and I did that already for you today, obviously, it's kind of boring to watch the charcoal part of it, but I'm going to block in my sky, and I thought, considering the fact that it's a much later time of day, well, not a lot later, but this particular time of day, the light changes so quickly. I call it the edge of the day.
I'm curious, people watching, how many of you have actually tried or used pastel right now? Will you put a comment in just so we can know? And so you're going to start, this is going to make it an afternoon scene by making that a yellow sky. That's pretty cool.
Yes, much later in the day as the sun drops a little bit farther down.
Hello, Scotland. Welcome.
Hey.
People get mad at me because I don't mention the U.S. cities because there's just too many of them, but it's kind of fun to see people from all over the world tuning in.
Absolutely. Very exciting. Now, I am using the side of the pastel for blocking in big, broad strokes.
What kind of pastel are you using?
Right now, this is a Terry Ludwig.
Okay. So you like most people have lots of different ones that you use?
Oh, yes. Yes. I have quite a collection. And I'm sure you know by now, Eric, that it becomes quite addictive.
Well, I've been getting addicted to pastel.
Yes, it becomes addictive in collecting pastels too. Yeah, you do need a lot of different colors. For those people who are just starting out with pastel, or maybe you haven't used pastel, is that it's a dry media, so you can't mix it the way that you can wet paint. So you do have to have a wide assortment of colors. You can modify colors by layering and juxtaposing colors and so forth. But you can't really mix them the way that you can paint. And I also want to warm up this part of the tree.
Okay.
Quite a bit too. Alrighty. So I want this whole palette to be much warmer. And that influenced
This
my...
is kind of like hands on a chalkboard, isn't it?
Oh, are you getting a lot of noise? Well, yeah. It's
right.
funny, Eric, when I teach and I have my back to students, I'm working with a student, and I can tell by the noise just how hard they're working.
Ah, okay.
Now, a couple of things I wanted to change in the painting that I wasn't that crazy about is this is really my focal point, but because there's so much contrast here, I want to change the value of this and also not have that because I think this is a little distracting all the way over on the side of the painting. So I want to make sure that these grasses are closer in value to the darker background that is behind them.
You know, when you're plein air painting, especially, it's real easy to get seduced by multiple focal points, isn't it?
Oh, sure. Yes. Yeah. And when I go out and plein air paint, Eric, I don't always go out with coming back with a perfect painting in mind. For me, it's a learning experience. You know, as long as I've been doing it, which is quite a while now, I always learn something when I'm out.
Do you take an abbreviated set out on plein air location?
Yes, I do. I have a special plein air box that I use. And yeah, I have a selection of pastels that are just specifically for plein air painting. Okay, continuing to block in. I'm still using the side of the pastel. And my initial strokes are usually very light because that will allow me room to manipulate the layers and so forth. And it's only toward the end of the painting that I use heavier pastel.
Welcome, Barcelona. Thank you for tuning in.
Oh, wonderful. I was there back in, a few years ago. Beautiful city.
Yeah, Barcelona.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
exactly. Okay, now I just put in the tree trunks, and what I did for that little tree trunk is I turned the pastel to the side, more of an angle, so that I'm able to use the sharper edge of the pastel to get a finer stroke. To get these broad areas, again, I was using the side of the pastel in an open side stroke. Okay.
What would you say to people who've never tried pastel? I tell them, and I don't know that this is offensive. I don't mean to be, but I tell them that, you know, when we were all kids, we used crayons. And so we kind of know hand-eye coordination from crayons, and these are kind of like adult professional crayons, except they're not waxy.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that because when I tell people about pastel, it's like we didn't grow up. We get to play with crayons. It's so interesting you said that.
If you guys have questions, put them in the comments. We would love to answer them.
Yeah,
I got to tell you, Christine, that after last August, attending Pastel Live, as you know, I'm the host,
right.
and I don't get to watch a lot of it because we're doing things in between, you know, getting ready for next segment and so on. But I watch as much as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
And I started painting in pastels. I did it a couple of times right about that time because a couple of the vendors sent me some pastels. And then this summer, I've been experimenting with them quite a bit. And I really got to the point where I can knock it out of the park, which I'm really proud of.
Wow.
And I realized that a lot of that just came through osmosis, just by having watched other people, and everybody approaches it differently. You know, some people use the side, some people use pan pastel, different approaches, and of course there's different styles. I found that it was almost like osmosis, that I was able to pick up things that I didn't realize I could do.
Yes, it is wonderful watching other people. And yes, there are so many different ways of using pastel. Since it's such a hands-on medium, it's important for people to find out how they should use the pastel. And, you know, there really isn't a wrong way. You know,
but when I first started, before I watched pastel, I didn't realize a lot of the different mark making things you could do.
yes.
So questions from the comments. One is, what brand was the square pastel? And the other question is, what about dust? How do you deal with dust?
Well, first of all, the square pastels are generally the Terry Ludwigs. I do also use some Great Americans and Blue Earth. This is a Blue Earth. It's a smaller square stick. And as far as the dust goes, I don't know if you can see it, but I have a tray that's holding my board that catches a lot of dust. And when I'm using my other much larger studio easel working on a big piece, I'll have it tilted forward so that the dust falls on the tray and not on my painting.
Yeah. Some people actually put a wet paper towel on the tray to capture the dust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whatever works. Oh, and by the way, when I see some pastel building up on the surface, there's a little bit here. What I do is I tilt the board forward and tap, so it will again fall on the tray. And I also do not want to blow on it, because we blow out. The next movement is to breathe in, and we don't want to be breathing in the pastel dust. We want to be around for a long time painting.
Yes, we do.
Yes. Okay, I'd like to say something else about the time of day. I've noticed over the years in painting that at what I call the edges of the day, the values get to be closer together. Whereas, say, like at noontime, well, here in Arizona, where we have such brilliant sun, around noontime, midday, we get a lot of contrasts, a lot of strong value contrasts. And at the edges of the day, meaning very late afternoon, very early in the morning, the values are closer together.
Question, what box do you use when you go outside?
Oh, that's a great question. Again, there are many on the market. I use something called an all-in-one. That's what it's called. The words are hyphenated. And it holds a fair amount of pastels. But what I like about it is the lid holds my papers and also becomes the support, which I like very much. So I don't have to worry about carrying an extra board.
Nice.
Here's a little tip. When you're working on pastel and you're not sure how the particular color that you picked up is going to work in the painting, I put a little chink of it over on the edge of the paper, which will be covered up later on with framing or matting, so that I can see how it's going to work in the painting right on the surface. Some artists use a scrap piece of paper, but I like to see how the colors are going to work right on the actual surface I'm working on. So you can see already it's a different color palette. The color of the paper that I chose, which is coming through in spots, influences the overall color palette too, of course. But I'm really wanting to warm this up. Okay, I can hear how hard I'm working on this.
Yeah, you're working hard.
Okay, let's see. I'm sure you probably noticed, but many people will use their field studies or plein air paintings to do a bigger painting in the studio. This one is a little smaller, just because I wanted to try out ideas. We're making it a completely different painting, but using the same motif that of a large tree with the sun going down behind it. So I like to try out different ideas. And then, you know, who knows, maybe at some point I will do a larger version of this. I also do the same thing when I am working in the studio with photographs. I do a lot of studio work in the summer, kind of the opposite of what people do in the more northern areas because it's so hot. And I'll try out different ideas in the studio and of course use photographs in the studio, plus my plein air pieces. And I'll do the same thing when I'm working with a photograph. I'll try out different formats, maybe different color palette. We don't need to be confined by our reference. Although when I am working outdoors, I do like to learn as much as I can by observing what's actually happening out there. Very important. Direct observation.
Hey, Christine.
Yes.
I think we're going to take a little break here and then we're going to come right back. Sound like a plan?
Yes.
All right. Terrific. All right. We'll just do that. Okay. Well, welcome back, everybody. And let's see here. We have a couple of things I want to tell you about. First off, this is the first live we've done in a while, and I apologize for not being here. But, you know, when you're watching these things, I just want you to know that we have a lot of guests every day. We broadcast every day, sometimes in replay, and usually our guests are on on their cell phone or somewhere else, just trying to kind of communicate the way they teach. We have a whole company called PaintTube.tv, which has hundreds of professionally produced art instruction videos from the leading artists in the world. And the big difference from what you see here, you're getting good education no matter what. But some of these videos that we produce are hundreds, dozens of hours long. Hundreds, no, not maybe not. They have high definition 4K quality when you watch on the app. We have an app so you can have your videos with you at all times. You don't have to carry your DVDs with you, although we have DVDs if you want them. And extreme close-ups, really in-depth close-ups and professional sound, kind of Hollywood level production. So check them out at PaintTube.tv, and we would love for you to see what we have to offer. We have some really great ones, including a new one that is coming out this week. We have a brand new video. It's called Painting with Intuition with the great Douglas Fryer. Turns out to be one of our better selling videos this year. And the official launch is going to be on tomorrow, and we will have a sample of that at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Just tune in to Facebook Live or to YouTube. If you're watching this, just subscribe and you'll be able to get it. It's tomorrow at 3 p.m. and you'll get a chance to see that. All right. Also coming up, we have a conference called Pastel Live, which is this October, this August. Yeah, I'm rusty. And I'll just play this for you real quickly.
Join the world for the second annual Pastel Live, the ultimate pastel learning event, August 17th through the 20th, 2022. 4 days of online art lessons from top master pastel artists from around the globe. Learn to paint nature, people, cityscapes, flowers, and more. Become a better artist. Click the link to learn more and get our free ebook.
So if you haven't signed up yet for Pastel Live, you will see a vast improvement in your work. And if you don't feel like you're worthy, you are worthy. It's kind of like once you go to school, like remember in kindergarten, you didn't want to go to school, but once you got there and you started learning and growing, well, if you're brand new to painting, we have a beginner's day for Pastel Live that you can just attend that, or you can attend the entire event. We've got over 30 instructors, some of the top art instructors in the world. We have access to them because of our magazines. That's why we're able to bring them to you. And so it's a really wonderful experience. And if you can't make the dates of the 18th through the 20th and beginner day on the 17th, you can, of course, watch the replays. And we have a lot of different replays available for you. So check it out at pastellive.com. We have a free ebook for you on pastel painting tips from the pros, 45 of them, as a matter of fact. Just go to pastellive.com/45 tips. The winner of the last prize is Heidi Blumenshine in Maryland. She won an easel brush clip. And today you can win a Plein Air magazine apron. And by the way, this is going to be a collector's issue because as soon as these are gone, we have a brand new logo hitting with the next issue. And so these are going to be collector's items. You could win one today. And the way to win is by making a comment in the comments section. We will choose from the comments no matter where you are in the world. Now we're going to get back to our guest, Christine Debrosky, who is taking a pastel painting from a plein air and changing the color, the light, the mood, the composition. Christine, you're back.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure.
So yes, Pastel Live will be a great event, and no one should feel intimidated about signing up. When I first started using pastel, I went in as a watercolorist. And my goodness, it was a learning experience, but it has been a wonderful ride with pastel. Wonderful dusty trails, literally. Okay, so I am refining some things a little bit, starting to put in some shorter, choppier strokes. I am an impressionist painter, so I do like to use the strokes that, describe form in a textured way. A little bit of light down here. Pressure is so important in pastel painting. It isn't just the different strokes, but it's also how heavily or how lightly the strokes are applied. Sometimes I use a light, feathery stroke. Sometimes I use a stroke that is much heavier. And I kind of use both pressures all throughout the painting. Pastels, different brands have different hardnesses. And when I first learned, I would use the harder pastels first, and then work up to the softer pastels as the painting progressed. But at this point, I have developed the touch where it doesn't really matter so much how hard or soft the particular pastel is. But that comes with time and practice. And pastels, it's one of those mediums where it's just so fun to play with. So it's not so much practicing, it's playing with them. Again, we get to play with grown-ups that are playing with crayons.
What I really found wonderful about them is that it was sometimes when I'm in the mood to set up and do some oil painting, if I don't have my colors out, then, it's a hassle. I got to put all my colors out. And so what I like about pastel is that I can just leave the box of sticks out and just, set up on the easel and do it real easily.
Yeah,
it's instant.
Yes. Now, let's say a lot of times when I work on a pastel painting, people will ask me about blending. And very often the temptation is to use our hands and go ahead and blend. What I prefer to do, and I'm doing this right here, is to take a slightly harder pastel and go in all different directions and kind of weave the strokes together.
Great idea.
That's what I'm doing up in the sky here. I just prefer to add more pastel. And also, if you get into blending a little bit too early in the pastel, it can look muddy, and we don't want that. Put in some sky holes. Okay, here's a little tip about sky holes. You can use negative space to create tree branch. In other words, I'm painting the sky holes and we can see another little branch right there. And I also want to be careful that I have a little more sky on one side of the branch than the other. Just looks more natural that way. And I put in a few over here. Okay.
Now, I'm going to ask people in the comments, just because you can see that coming together so much, I'll just be curious. The one on the right, let's call it warm. And the one on the left, let's call it
I would call it
earlier.
More color, more literal.
Okay, so but let's have people vote so far. Which do you like the best, the one on the right or the one on the left? I like them both, but in terms of the feel of the color, I'm just curious. I have my opinion. I won't share it.
It'd be interesting to see what people have to say about that.
Okay.
And again, I don't always cover up the entire paper when I paint. I like some of the undercolor coming through. Now, let's see, another difference in this is I was imagining the shadows coming up and creeping up into the landscape as they do as the day gets later. So this area in the foreground would be starting to really get to be in shadow. Some cooler colors in the foreground, and maybe punch up this area of light that's just streaking across, bouncing up into the grasses over here. So I'm really using my imagination plus what I'm utilizing, and I always do this when I'm in the studio, is thinking about times when I've been out and other lighting situations. As I say, all of the time, it's always a learning experience for me. It's a time to really observe what is happening in the landscape. Okay, let's see. I might want a little more light sweeping through.
I think that's a great exercise, because to tell yourself, okay, now try the same painting with a different time of day, you have to remember these things. Try to make it up in your head.
That's right. And that's where the plein air painting experience comes into play. Yeah,
Susan is in the from the Austin Pastel Society is in here, and she reminded me that she embroidered me a hat, an art marketing hat from the Pastel Society there. Thank you for that. And an apron. Yes, I still have it.
Yeah, wonderful.
I need to go back and do another thing for them. If I
guess
ever make it back to Austin.
And wear your hat.
Oh yeah, wear my hat.
Don't forget that.
Well, they have to get me a new hat by then.
Okay.
Because I have a bigger head.
Oh gosh.
Just kidding.
Yes. Oh goodness. Now, sometimes when I get toward the end of a painting, sometimes it's just on a whim. I'll pick up a richer color and just throw it in there. But I picked up that beautiful reddish violet and just give it a little more jazz.
One thing I noticed about pastel painting is when I can look down and grab all the colors, sometimes I'll grab a color I wouldn't think to mix if I were painting in oil, but it just works perfectly.
Yes, and a good example is that violet, that beautiful red violet. Okay, now I'm going to show a stroke that I really like for rendering light on grasses, or in this case, light coming through the tree leaves. And what I do, I'm going to hang on to my board here, is I put it down heavily.
Yeah.
And then I pull up away from it.
Oh, that's a great trick.
I call it a flourish.
So that really gets intense pigment in there.
Yes, yes, it does. And pastel is all about beautiful, intense pigment. I'll get some sparkles in there. The light is not shining on these leaves, it's coming through the leaves.
Yeah.
And that's when we get the really beautiful, rich amber color. I just love that. That gets me excited. It floats my boat. I'll get
It
some.
floats your boat.
It does. Good thing to have something float my boat since I live in the desert.
That's right, where you don't need a boat.
Right.
Well, I live on an island. I live by boat.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Goodness. Lots of
It is until days like today when it's raining and you have to go to the grocery store.
Oh, goodness. Wow. Well, I would imagine you have pretty good slickers, huh?
Okay, so here's a question from Sue Lepsch, who says, I have a question for Christine. What side of the Canson Mi Tente's paper is she using, the smooth side or the honeycomb textured side? I don't think I saw this answered earlier.
Oh, that's a great question. Yes, if you're not familiar with it, the Canson does have a uniform machine-made texture on one side, and I don't like it. I like to make the marks myself, so I am using the smooth side. I always use the smooth side of the Canson paper.
Are they both sanded?
No, this is not a sanded paper.
It's not sanded at all. Okay.
Yeah, this is when I started working in pastel. There was not that much available in the way of materials in this country. So we had a German sanded paper and we had this good old Canson paper. And what I like about the Canson paper is that it has what I would call a soft hand. It doesn't have an aggressive surface because it's not sanded. And it's a great paper to learn on because it really forces you to learn touch. Okay, now I picked up a blue, harder pastel, and I'm just going to weave together some of the strokes up in the sky area, up toward the top with this. And the contrast between the warm and the cool gives it a nice sparkle.
I like sparkle.
Oh, we do, yes. Okay, I'm going to tilt it forward and tap. Okay, let's see. Get a little more warmth down in here. Yes, that's good. Okay, now I'm never averse to picking up my charcoal and going back in some areas that I want to redefine and restate. I think it's completely compatible with the pastel. And for instance, here, I'm kind of blending, but with the soft fine charcoal. Actually, I have enough pastel down so that it's moving the pigment around. Okay, a little more definition up in here where the light really isn't hitting the tree. I also made this main tree a bit bigger. I wanted it to grow up into the painting. Okay, maybe a little more of that wonderful violet. Again, I don't blend, but if I need to soften an edge, sometimes I'll put my finger in there and tap. Okay, I want to be a little more definite with some of the branches. It's one of those big, beautiful cottonwoods. I think you have those in Texas.
Yeah, but not at, well, maybe in parts of Texas, not where I live,
Uh-huh.
but maybe we do. I don't know. Maybe they turn that bright yellow in the fall.
Yes, yeah, but they're just
We,
wonderful.
we went to Ghost Ranch one year for Fall Color Week and filled with bright yellow cottonwoods. It was really amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
This year's Fall Color Week is sold out.
Wow, that's wonderful. And where is that?
That's going to be in Maine. We're trying to get some we're looking at renting some spaces, additional spaces to see if we can get a couple more people in.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Now, let's see. What I just did there, sometimes I use squiggly, scraggly strokes to indicate brush. And it's just going around and hitting and missing the paper. I'll show you that over here. There's a kind of a brushy area over here. And it's just using the end and scribbling. We like to scribble too.
Hello, Costa Rica.
Oh, hello.
Send me a message. I want to come to Costa Rica this year.
That would be wonderful.
Not in rainy season.
Right. Right. Not in hurricane season. Well, this is pretty close to where I wanted it to get.
Awesome. Well, that's about perfect timing too.
All right. Yes, let's call that. Okay, I'm just going to step back for just a minute and take a look.
Stepping back is key.
Yes, it absolutely is.
Okay, now people were saying I can't vote yet because it's not ready. Okay, so left or right, your personal preference. It's not anything other than just which one do you like best?
Yeah,
Left
that's
or right?
a good thing to know.
Okay, go in the comments right now, left or right. And by the way, we're giving away a prize from the comments, both on the live and on the replay. So you have a chance if you put a comment in.
Okay. There, I'm going to call that. You know, when it's so funny whenever I'm demoing and I say, Okay, I'm going to call that finished. I always put in a few more. Just can't help.
I have a painting I've been working on for over a year, almost 2 years. And last night I'm like, okay, I think it's done. And then this morning I came in, it's like, nah, it's not done yet.
Yeah, we always see something, especially when we come back to it there.
Oh, that's the joy of it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, why don't you come back on camera so we can say goodbye?
Yes. Let me just turn this here.
All right. Oh, that's convenient.
Okay.
Well, Christine, we put your website in the comments. I encourage you guys to visit her website and check out what she's got. And then tell us a little bit what you're thinking about doing on Pastel Live for your demo.
Oh, that'll be fun. I'm doing a summer lane with a different time of day, a little bit earlier in the morning or later in the morning. And it will be leading people into the painting, creating shadows and form to lead the viewer right into the painting, and using linear perspective and aerial perspective, and having a really nice summer lush scene that people would want to walk right into.
Oh, outstanding. Well, thank you for doing this today. Where can we find you on Instagram or Facebook?
Okay, the Instagram is Christine Debrosky Fine Art, and Facebook is C Debrosky.
Okay.
C, letter C, Debrosky.
Letter C. All right, you guys, thumbs up and applause. You can go back to the comments and look at the votes, but so far it looks pretty even.
Oh,
A lot of left, a lot of right.
Thank goodness.
I don't think those are political statements.
And I hope to see you guys at Pastel Live. It's going to be a fabulous event. I'm so excited that Pastel has another venue for people to enjoy. You can avoid the crowds, avoid the heat, and sit in your nice, comfortable space and get dusty.
Yeah, and you don't have to get on an airplane. You don't have to pay for a hotel room or a rental car. So, I'm glad you mentioned that. Let's just talk about that real briefly. We decided it was because of this program, actually. People said to us, I was doing realism live and plein air live and watercolor live. And people on this program said, you need to do pastel. And so enough people stepped up. We decided to do it. And then we decided, we really need to double down on pastel. We, as you know, we have Plein Air Magazine, Fine Art Connoisseur Magazine, American Watercolor, Fine Art Today, Realism Today, etc. And what am I forgetting? Inside Art. So we decided to double down on pastel because we feel like pastel needs all the help it can get because it's such a fine medium and it's already got great help. There's a terrific magazine, Pastel Journal. There's a terrific organization, IAPS, which brings all the organizations together and has a fabulous event. But we just want to do what we can do. We saw what happened to the plein air movement when we got behind it. We want to help do that to the pastel movement. And so we've launched Pastel Today as a newsletter, and we've launched Pastel Live. I don't think we're ever going to do an in-person pastel event because IAPS does a great job with that. But this is something for the people who can't get in there, which of course it's sold out every year anyway. So this is an opportunity for people who, we hear from a lot of people who are stuck at home because of family and taking care of people or just can't travel for whatever reason. This is a great chance to become part of our community in Pastel Live.
Yes, it'll be wonderful. I'm really excited about being a part of it. Yay.
We're honored to have you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, it's my honor, Eric. This has been fun. And actually, I like the warm one. So I may do it in a larger version. That's my vote.
Okay. Well, I like the warm one too. I tend to like warm colors. And there's some research that indicates that people are drawn to warmer colors. If they walk into a gallery and there's two choices, they're drawn to the warmer. may not like it long term, but with oranges and yellows in a painting, it will sell faster. But whether or not people will live with it as long is the question. But it certainly will sell faster.
Interesting. Good to know.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Christine.
My pleasure, Eric. Thank you. It's been an honor.
The honor is ours. All right. Bye-bye. Well, thanks to Christine Debrosky for being with us today. And she's going to be on Pastel Live. I encourage you to go to pastellive.com and check that out. Remember, comments get a chance to win the collector's item plein air apron. This issue of Plein Air Magazine coming out, in just a few days, has an all new design and new logo. We've been working on it for about, I don't know, maybe a year, 2 years. And so it's an opportunity. If you're not a subscriber to Plein Air Magazine, good chance to become that. It's for artists and collectors, and the plein air movement is hot, hot, hot. You need to be part of it. Thank you guys for tuning in today and for being a part of this. Thank you for giving me that break I needed where I just couldn't get here every day, but I'll try to be here a little bit more. It's summertime, so all bets are off. And who knows, if they put us all in quarantine because of monkeypox or something, we'll be here every day again, God willing. Thank you again. And be sure to get that free ebook at pastellive.com. Thanks to Christina. Take care, you guys. Bye-bye.